In this video, I'm going to show you how to navigate and complete the informed question worksheets. So in Brightspace, I'm just, instead of in the course home, I'm under the content link here. And if you scroll down, you can see the different weekly modules. I'm just in module 1 and 2. And if I click on informed questions for modules 1 and 2, click here and choose one, it takes you to the module page. And you click on each one of these links and download module 2 informed question and module 1 informed question. You can see they popped up in my downloads. And when I come into the downloads, I can open that with Microsoft Word, and I'm going to want to open both of them. And I'm going to want to read these headlines from each of the chapters. Each headline I've given you has to do with some topic from that chapter. And so when you look at the headlines, and what I would do is highlight it, copy it, paste it into a browser, and it should come up with a link to the article. Read through that article, and you'll kind of get a gist for what the topic of that article is and how it might relate to one of the topics from the book. You only need to choose one of the headlines and do just that headline. You don't need to do a topic for each one of those headlines. So you don't have to cover everything in the book. You just want to choose one thing that the book talked about that's related to one of these articles. So, for instance, this is chapter 2, the Internet, Digital Media, and Media Convergence. And so the internet broke in Africa this week. Most women didn't notice. If I look for that in Forbes magazine and I read the article, it should be kind of obvious that the chapter talked about internet access. And so this article also talks about internet access and how some people in the world actually still don't have access to the internet, which is kind of mind-blowing for some of us to think about, right? And so you'll take that and then you'll look up three additional sources. So go to the internet and just Google, internet access, and then look for some other news sources about this. Look for articles that might talk about internet access. And so maybe one of these Starlink articles. Be very careful about the sources you choose. There are some sources that are more legitimate than others. And if you Google the headline, like the internet broke in Africa this week, most women didn't notice, and you come up with several articles with that same title, it's probably just the same article and multiple sources are using it. So you want to make sure that you actually look for different sources with different topics that all relate to the same sort of central idea, which is access to the internet. Once you've done that, you write out three things you've found from these sources. You need to cite them in text. So it might be something like people are gaining access worldwide due to Starlink satellite internet. And then that was my source would be the Jerusalem Post. That's all you have to do. But be sure you cite your source. Be sure you give me some information. You need to give me enough information. In fact, this is probably in Bangladesh. This is probably not enough information. I'm just trying to give you a very quick overview. But be very detailed about this. Tell me what you found in each article. And there needs to be three different sources. And it should not be the same source that I gave you. So ultimately, you'll read four different articles. Then the next thing you'll want to do is look through the book in that chapter, chapter 2, and you're going to write at least three bullet points that the chapter talked about internet access. So it needs to be a topic here that relates to the topic that you've chosen up here. Once you've written three additional articles and three things you found from the book, I want you to write a question out about what you still don't understand about the topic. It should be something you couldn't find easily in the articles. So it should be something like I was going to write, what's the percentage of people that still don't have internet access? But Maybe what factors in America still keep people from having internet access? If that's something that you didn't find in one of the articles, for example. If you found an article about how rural Americans still struggle with internet access, I wouldn't expect that would still be your question, right? So it needs to be a detailed question. I should be able to follow the trail from the article I give you to the articles you found to the book chapter to the question also. So if your question is like, how do people play games on their phone? And your sources were all about internet access. I don't quite draw the line from your research to the question, right? So the question really needs to actually be something related to the topic that you didn't answer in your research. Once you have done that, you can save it as a Word document. And I'm going to put it on my desktop. And then I'm going to go back into Brightspace. And where it says upload, I'm going to click on upload and I'm going to navigate to where I stored it. And I'm going to open that and it will upload the file. And then I hit submit and it will submit that informed question worksheet to me. Now, I've only allowed you to submit one time. And so once you've submitted that, you can't submit it again. So we're going to say yes, and it's going to submit. Now, if you are using Google Drive for this, you'll want to go to Google Drive and wherever you're storing your stuff for this class, you're going to want to download the worksheet first, then upload it to Google Drive, open it in Google Drive, fill out the worksheet the exact same way. So Google the source that I've given you, read the source, write 3 additional sources, and then write 3 things from the chapter that you found, write your question. But if you're using Google Drive, you're going to have to come up and say File, Download as a Word document. And once it downloads, then you're going to go back into Brightspace and you're going to navigate to the one you downloaded and you're going to drag it and upload it into Brightspace from there. If you have any questions, please email me at price@ucmo.edu.